if the twerking's canon now, I guess, I don't know. I never grew up. I don't understand the She-Hulk series completely. That's a whole other rant I could go on. One, the CGI annoys me. Two, I'm just offended that they think that she's a strong female character as a woman, right? Because everyone who supports the She-Hulk series is like all the men saying they hate it because they don't understand what women want. Well, I'm a woman, and to hear that She-Hulk is somehow a strong female character is kind of insulting because you got these amazing characters in Marvel. Gamora is my absolute favorite. Pepper from cool. Iron Man is an absolute badass, right? You got Scarlet Witch, who, like, I'm still critical of, but at least she's got more personality. And then you've got Black Widow, who's got this amazing backstory. Right. She-Hulk's got no backstory, no personality. She's kind of just there. She's like, she's basically every girl boss cardboard cutout. And that, to me, is insulting. She's got an RBG bobblehead. She's twerking. She's getting after work shots, and that's her, and she's on Tinder. That's her whole personality. It's really frustrating to me because I'm like, this is supposed to represent women, and like you're gonna say she's the strong female character of all these other strong female characters Marvel has already given us. Are you freaking kidding me? 100%. And I'm saying this as someone who identifies as a feminist because I don't like when I have, when I have a strong female character that's represented to me, I want to know their backstory, their personality. I want to know what they represent. And to She-Hulk, she kind of just represents every white woman. every typical white woman. It's like a cardboard cutout. Honestly, She-Hulk to me looks like she was, she looks like she was drawn by a Fox News anchor. Like she is the most. That's what I don't get. I don't get how feminists and liberal women of all people are backing this character up because she's not a strong female character. She looks like something Fox News drew. Like she really does. Like she looks like something.
she's like a caricature almost.
Mm-hmm. She looks like a caricature of every female talk show host to me. And that's what I don't like because there are so many things you could have done to make an amazing backstory for an amazing character. And they changed the backstory to something else. And to me, it only made her look worse. Because I like when I see a character, male or female, go through struggle. I like to see that because it humanizes them. It's why I love the villain to hero character arcs like Loki, Snape, Wanda, all of these different characters, Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because it humanizes them. It makes us see our own faults within ourselves, with the wrongdoings we've done. It helps us recognize and have empathy for these characters that made mistakes. That's why I don't like She-Hulk. They're putting her on this high pedestal that she doesn't deserve. That's why I don't like her. Anyway, we went off topic again, but
no, that's fine.
I've been having this conversation with OG actually. Now I want to get your opinion on this because I think this is very fascinating. Mm-hmm. Ashton, do you think with the Disney's material specifically, we see, I don't know, from my standpoint, a lot of cookie cutter female archetypes?
Yes, I do not understand how so many feminists are backing this up. It's very frustrating. It's very annoying. There's so many different types of women that you could base strong female characters off of in history that are inspiring, brilliant, fought in wars. There's so many different women who have really fought fascism, imperialism, have gone through struggles and life situations that we can look throughout history and our timeline and think that is a real interesting person I want to make into a character. And instead, we're making like these cardboard cutouts of what, again, look like to me like talk show hosts. And it's I think we've become so far away. The average person has become so far away from what Hollywood sees as an everyday person. Yeah. They just basically, okay, well, She-Hulk to me looks like a female version of Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, totally.
That's what she looks like to me. She's basically every typical upper middle class white woman. Mm-hmm. That's what she looks like to me.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
Not interesting to me. I want to see a character who's gone through struggle. I want to see a character who's fought something and fought for something bigger than herself. That's what matters to me as a woman who wants stronger female characters. I am so sick of people. I see, like, I'll go on TikTok, right? I'll see a lot of people who are like, all these people criticizing She-Hulk are just angry white men because they don't get it. Well, I'm a woman who wants more personality in my strong female characters. And I do not understand how so many feminists are falling for this shtick of, oh, it's the female version, therefore buy it. I don't get how we're falling for this shtick every single time. They're basically taking what we care about, right? They're basically saying, okay, we made the female version of this feminist. Here you go. Are you happy now? And we're falling for it. No, if we're going to be given a strong female character, I want the same type of work into the backstory. I want the same type of work that goes into the personality. Because the thing is, the fact that we're looking at characters like She-Hulk and putting her side by side, Iron Man and Hulk and Captain America, and not thinking to ourselves, wow, they're really not putting that much effort into She-Hulk and other female characters. We should be pissed off that they're not putting as much effort into this. Instead, they're basically smacking a female face on and saying, here you go, feminists. Here you go, women. Be happy. Liberation.
Right, 100%.
No, it's cheaply done. And the fact that we're still making excuses for this really makes me angry, because that's not representation to me. If anything, that's just laziness in part of the studio.
Well, that's 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, a lot of these studios, and Disney especially, right? What they do is they think like, okay, I'll just kind of, we'll just kind of like, as a studio, we'll give you a female character, and there you go. We did our due diligence. We have representation. But what a lot of people seem to miss, and what you understand, Ashton, is that like the quality matters, right? Like
and feminists, so many feminists, comic book characters, and fans of the show aren't seeing that, and that's what frustrates me. Because if we're fighting for representation, we should be fighting for the same effort and the same writing and the same work that goes into these characters as the male characters, and we're not getting that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
This is not a win for women. Like, this show is not a win for feminists. I do not understand how people aren't seeing that.
It's almost like they were, and there are definitely some maybe more ideological types, right, within the writers' rooms and so forth. And I understand they want to, we'll get rid of the old tropes. But really, you just replace them with new ones. This is
an old trope. That's the funny thing. Is they're basically seriously, this female character is an old trope that has been overused over and over and over again. The only difference is that this is an old trope that hasn't been used in superhero movies. This is an old trope that has been used in every single rom-com and sitcom that I am so sick of representation. You know what? The SNL Black Widow video, like where they basically make a chick flick trailer for the Black Widow movie, that SNL video is basically what She-Hulk is. The SNL video making fun of the fact that Black Widow would have been made into a rom-com is basically what got turned into She-Hulk.
That's interesting.
That is what happened. That's why I don't understand how She-Hulk is getting all of this rep from women around the world. I'm like, they're laughing at us when they made this video, this series. They're laughing at us.
And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned Wanda. See, that's an example, and I've been a big proponent of Wanda. Vash can vouch for me. I love that character. I do. And because Wanda has been through some shit. Wanda has been through a lot of shit, and she's got a great character arc, great character growth. She's not out there twerking or doing whatever.
I don't even care about the twerking. That's the funny bit. Everyone's mad about the twerking right now. I will say this. The twerking sort of just adds to it. It's like, really? Like, you could have written anything in. You could have written her a good backstory, a good personality, something interesting for women to relate to. Yeah. And instead you gave her twerking, which to me is, it's again, if she was twerking on top of actually having a backstory and a personality, and like the twerking was just like there, on the side, I wouldn't care as much. It's the fact they basically they didn't write anything else in, plus the twerking. It's almost like the twerking was meant to make up for their lack of writing.
Yeah,
100%.
That's what makes me angry.
Go ahead.
Well, no, we're just going to try to appeal to the what is the TikTok generation, or the kind of what is it? Viewers at home, which would twerk themselves. Oh, look, you can see yourself in her doing this. So much. What is it? I guess to appeal to, or whatever. it's a weird thing because I do agree with you. They have used this trope before. I guess my point is like they've created all new tropes that we see not just with She-Hulk embodied in She-Hulk, but we see these characteristics across a wide spectrum of female characters within these kind of Disney products, whether they come from Star Wars, Marvel, and so forth.
Disney animation has really been big on creating
it's just
tropes.
like they're. Yeah, you switch out the names, but you give like a kind of a character sheet, right, of their kind of personality traits, and they're indistinguishable from one to the other. Right. And it's really unfortunate because we used to really have, I would think, really dynamic characters, really characters that would stand out, but now they're inseparable from the rest and really forgettable as a result. And I think I agree with you, Ashton. It's a little bit unfair because we're starting to see female representation, which is great, but representation just by itself isn't good enough. It really is the quality of that representation. And I think I agree with you, Ashton. I think they really are kind of falling off on that. And it really is unfortunate. Disney's not the only, the studio doing this. Yeah. There's obviously others. But you're right, and it really is. It's unfair. I do agree.
It is. It is unfair. It's very much. I just feel like a lot of these studios, and Disney included, maybe even Disney especially, they think that like to your point, Ray, like it's like just having the female character is enough, right? And we'll touch upon this because we're going to dive into the parks, and I think this kind of pertains to some of the park stuff, but like just having the female character or even just the representation of various races and what have you, that's enough. Forget quality. As long as we give you a character that this race or whatever can relate to, or this gender can relate to, that's good enough. But
the problem is, here's the thing: diversity in TV shows and movies is important. Representation is important.
Right.
As someone who's autistic, when I finally saw an autistic character that wasn't represented as an annoying, babbling idiot, it really made me happy because it was actually okay. We actually have a character, that applies to. I feel like I can see myself in, because the way the media has represented autism and people with autism is so frustrating for years and years and years. And it's very rarely we actually do get to see a character that properly represents what the experience is, right? So I do understand when people say representation matters, because it does. The problem is that these studios, they're writing off these characters of different races, different backgrounds, different sexual orientations, different gender identities, and they are just making them into cartoon characters. They're using all of these tropes that are, one, sometimes offensive, usually offensive, and two, very often just wrong. Just like not what it is at all. You can tell the person writing these characters does not even know what they're talking about. And it's very frustrating. And so, like, for example, a great example of this is when they basically turned Miles, who is technically Spider-Man, they basically made the Thor version of Miles. And when this comic book came out, the Miles version of Thor, they had like graffiti all over Asgard. They had him in like Timberland boots. They had him say things like by the power of my fade. Like these just really racist, stereotypical things that applied to him, that this artist thought, oh, this will definitely appeal to the Black community. And there was so much backlash against it. Thank God people said something about it. People just didn't stand by and say, oh yeah, this is so great representation. I'm really glad people were like, no, dude, we cannot make this into a comic book. This is horrible. And the artist came out and apologized and said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was trying to, use representation. But at the same time, it's like, look, if we want representation, we actually have to get people from these communities and from these backgrounds to come out and actually say what they want to see in these comic books and these TV shows and these movies, and actually share their experience and say, this is like what, I would like to see as someone from this community, as someone from this identity. That would be honestly very helpful. And I think we do need to see more of that. But if we continue to have notice the air quotes, you guys, representation of characters that don't actually represent anyone, if anything, it should be insulting to people. If anything, we need to start boycotting a lot of this.
Right. Because you get to a point where it's like some of this representation, air quotes, becomes almost like just perpetuating stereotypes in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the way the media portrays, if anything, it's become all just a bunch of minstrel shows, right? Where you have a bunch of people, a bunch of white people. I'm gonna like, push this, for sure. A bunch of white people writing out these characters in their own personal fan fictions of what they think those lives are like. And I'm sure there's obviously white people who can probably relate to a lot of experiences of the characters of different races that they're writing out. But at the end of the day, they're basically taking stereotypes and what they think, is the lifestyle of that person. And they're writing this out thinking it's representation, but really it's just one giant slap in the face.
100%, Ashton. 100%.